Obviously, Texas A&M's 2026 recruiting class is one of the best in the country right now. It's close to landing the number one spot if it wasn't for USC, who has like 1 billion commits right now. So we'll see what happens. That doesn't really matter. It matters of the players are acquiring. And after landing 4-star running back KJ Edwards last Tuesday, who I think all of us can say is one of the most elite backs we've seen in a while, and a guy who has star potential as soon as he steps on campus, Mike Elko went out there and landed 5-star cornerback and athlete Brandon Arrington from out of California, who, it's been the situation surrounding Arrington and Texas A&M has been kind of up and down for the last 3 months. But credit to Elko and his staff, specifically cornerback coaches Ishmael Aristide and Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson has really shown he is a star on the recruiting trail. They got the best visit possible and really sealed the deal late. And after that commitment on Thursday, it's kind of incredible. They landed another 5-star in 5-star edge Christian Givens, who I think Landon's going to have a lot to say about this young man. One of the ascending pass rushers in the class, is a 5-star mainly because he is an elite athlete and somebody who, if he goes on the right developmental track, this is a guy who could end up being a first-round NFL draft pick in the near future. Anyways, both of you guys, I'm going to leave it to you. What you thought, obviously after Edwards, I think we all knew, and especially both of you who are in the recruiting game, you had a little more intel than all of us. Did you think it was really surprised that they landed both Arrington and Givens over a 2-day period?
To me, no. Well, I didn't think Arrington was going to commit as early as he did. I mean, he had his date, I believe, July 5th. But then he was like, after he took that Bama visit, he was like, I just want to get it over with. Just, commit, help recruit. But, yeah, I didn't expect Arrington that early. Now, Givens was going to commit, I believe, Monday it was. So I kind of had a little bit intel that was saying that, A&M's a leader there. But, yeah, I didn't think he was going to bump it up on the weekend that he was on a visit. I think when he committed was at the lake with the staff and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. That's whenever he dropped the news. But, yeah, it's a very 2 big pickups for A&M and the staff. I'll let Cannon speak a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so the commitment over the weekend, like Landon said, he was originally supposed to commit yesterday. So just about 36 hours prior, the staff ended up pushing him over the line and getting him to commit right then and there at the lake, like Landon said. So a really, really big pickup on the trail, because this is a guy out of Georgia that previously played wideout. This is a kind of person that he's kind of built into the frame. I believe his last measurement was around 215, 220, but really has this senior season to kind of break out and kind of gain that last like senior 10, 15 pounds to really kind of solidify himself on that defensive line and come off the edge and be that elite guy, like you said earlier, Cameron, to be this projected first-round pick that A&M went after. They saw the talents in this guy, and they said, we absolutely need to have this guy. Tennessee made a strong push this last weekend before. They really kind of laid out the red carpet for him. I know a lot of people have seen the videos that they've done for a lot of their recruits on their official visits, but Tennessee made up some ground. But over the weekend, the intel was kind of received that A&M was kind of the leader in this recruitment, and over the last official visit kind of pushed it over the line, said, you know what, why not? I'm committing in 2 days anyway, and I know the place I'm going to go. Let's do it where everybody else is right now. Let's do it with the staff, and let's push it over the line.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, and we do know that Givens shut down his recruitment, which has become a trend, obviously, with most commits who know they're going to sign during early signing day. It's great for the staff. Obviously, they don't have to worry about, the upcoming season affecting their choice or anything like that. They know they're home. They're fully committed to this program, knowing this is the right school to develop my talent. We go back to Aaron Gregory, who we can probably spend this entire show on, who is taking place at the Rivals 5-star event this week, along with a handful of Aggie signees who Rivals has done a fantastic job. Credit to your company, Landon. It's just awesome to see these guys, especially Song Malala, who was another guy who fantastic interview yesterday with Adam Gorney. kind of talking about, I love when these guys really go into detail football wise. It's just not like, hey, my official biz was great, compared to the other one is much better. I like the culture and stuff like that. He did talk about some of that stuff with, the A&M culture that all these prospects have said, this is the place I want to be. These guys really care about me and my family. These relationships are great. And these are bonds that are going to hold strong even after I graduate and leave. But Maul talked about kind of positions, right? That A&M said, if you want to play edge, you're going to play edge here. If you want it, but UCLA, who was pushing hard at the end, obviously he's a California native, really wanted him to play linebacker. Now Maul is a very talented athlete who could play linebacker. Obviously, he was showing his skill set and coverage today. But he believes in himself as an edge rusher. He thinks that he's going to play that jack position that we see Cassius Howell going into the 2020 season play very well at. Obviously, he's a player that should have an elite 2020 season before he goes to the NFL. And if you get a great athlete who can pass rush and blanket that tight end, your future is very bright. And he's one of those players. And obviously, you look at guys like him and Gregory, who both shut down the commitment along with Caleb Tafua, tight end, running back, Jonathan Hatton. All these guys were watching A&M last season, seeing players on that roster and thinking, I could be like him. I could thrive in that role. And obviously you see someone like Tristan Givens and even Brandon Arrington who feel like they know how good they are. Like, that's the thing. These guys aren't shy of knowing how talented they are, not just based on the recruiting ranking, but, coaches telling them this is how good you can be. And the fact that, like you said, Tennessee, who's developed great pass rusher, James Pierce is a name you can think of off the top of your head, beating them out at the final moments of and obviously A&M has their own right of being DLU, if you want to say that. But he knows that Mike Elko taking over the defensive play calling, this staff in place, feeling that Tony Girardetti and Sean Smetzer, Texas A&M defensive line coaches, are doing a fantastic job in development and not just recruiting. Obviously, they're doing a great job there. But he sees a bright future in College Station, and this is a brand new organization. This is not the Jimbo Fisher. I should have started the show off with that. That has been a narrative. I'm going to let you guys get on this, but that has been a narrative that has been bugging me since Jimbo Fisher was fired, is that, it's just the same old Aggies, right? Because they finished the way they did last year. But we could honestly talk about this for hours of what affected that, why that happened, all the deficiencies you and I, Cannon, have discussed over the past 3 podcasts of the defense let him down, the pass rush let him down, Le'Veon Moss being out let him down, Marcel Reed wasn't ready. Those things happen to teams, and it just happened to be that this is an 8-win A&M team. They just want to run with that and go, it doesn't matter how well you recruit, you're just going to be an 8-win team. That makes no sense. This is a brand new system. This is a head coach who every one of these players trust. That's why they returned 70+% of their roster going into next season. And you see that on the recruiting trail right now, that these guys trust what Mike Elko and his staff are building.
I think it's a great point. I mean, you have the narrative ever since Jimbo was fired right after that Mississippi State game. And I think the narrative now that they are kind of not necessarily hammering into the rest of the state of Texas now and kind of showing that Mike Elko and his staff mean business to essentially say, hey, they mean business. They are ready to be that flagship university in athletics, like Elko said at his introductory press conference. He is all about it, and he is ready to have all his staff and essentially his players as well to get their nose down into the dirt, work hard, and get better. Because his goal is to build A&M into that flagship program that it's always had those resources to be able to do that. It's just a matter of getting from point A to point B that they weren't able to get under Fisher, which then created the narrative that goes along with it that, oh, A&M's just paying players, pay for play. Even before all of this revenue sharing era, it's hey, they just have money. They don't have the talent. Yes, to get over that hump, just like a lot of other teams who also are paying players to do, which is just how NIL works now. It's just how it is. But going back from that 25 season where Elko first came in, he had to quickly solidify the back end of that 2025 class, and you saw him land Terry Bussey right at the end. And that narrative kind of stayed with them throughout the entire summer, where they were not struggling, but they were working their butts off to get people into the door at A&M, and you saw them land guys that they were able to evaluate as an athlete first and then figure it out once they got to campus. You saw Terry Bussey in that kind of utilitarian role where he was either a punt returner, run in the backfield, wide receiver, trying him out at cornerback a couple of times. But now they're getting to the point where they are able to kind of solidify people in their own roles. And I had somebody text back and forth with me about right at the end of that 25 class when they landed Bussey, and I was like, well, what do you think that under this A&M program, what do you think Elko could actually be? And I got a text back saying, well, if you thought 2025 was a good end, there are a lot of people that are expecting this 26 class for A&M to get off of their feet and just hit the ground running. And here we are a year later, removed from that conversation, and you see them land. They go into Carthage for KJ Edwards. They go all the way to California for Brandon Arrington. They go all the way to Georgia. They've dipped into Georgia 3 separate times in the 2026 cycle for elite kids. And you see them do it time and time again, and they are going to continue to do that. So the narrative now is changing, and I see it in front of my own eyes. And I know I'm going to ask a little more from Landon's side about it, but I've seen the narrative change already to where A&M is willing to win these recruiting battles because of the relationships they've built on top of the NIL that they are offering. Then that's kind of what is pushing a lot of people over that hump. So Landon, I guess my question, since we have you on the show tonight, is were there any recruitments that you were just like, that relationship just pushed it way over the edge, and maybe you can be a little bit selfish and say, hey, you could not be prouder that A&M was able to push it over the edge in terms of that relationship?
Yeah, for sure. I'll go with the recent one, 5-star Brandon Arrington. That one was just relationships. Jordan Peterson from day one recruited that kid like no other. I even had a source say, when we talked NIL with Arrington, A&M wasn't even the top 5 of that category with them. It's just he felt trustworthy with Arrington or with Peterson. He felt like he could trust him with his development. You know, Kobe Bryant at Kansas, Will Lee at A&M. That's what Jordan Peterson sold him on. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just a narrative that people always say, but you know, Elko and the staff, they like relationships over anything. They like to, you know, make sure a recruit can trust them and make sure they feel at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And I think both of you guys nailed that. It's NIL is always going to play a part, but you're always going to have what goes after that. What's going to be that cherry on top? Because we see Texas, right? We see the videos. They don't even care anymore. It's just like Lambos on the field. It's like, and I always laugh. I'm like, good for them, but it's very materialistic. I'm not a materialistic guy. I'm, as you can tell, I'm B-neck connoisseur right here. I dress a certain way. I'm not a big spender overall. So when I see that, I'm kind of like, well, I get it. Some guys love that. But if A&M did that, the jokes that would come out about that. But that if you want to do NIL and recruit that way and it works for you, fantastic. Obviously, they've done a really good job landing some elite guys over the past couple of weeks, solidifying positions on the D line, and they have their own strengths like A&M does. Like you said, if you have a baseline for how you're going to recruit these guys, and you know what you need NFL like talent, and Mike Elk has been talking about that all offseason, that we need to bring in NFL guys. And I think a lot of people get confused on that. It's like, well, they're high school guys. Well, no, these are guys who are going to be program fits, but they have elite talent that they're going to develop in this program, and we're going to be able to send them off like we did Nick Scorton, Shamar Turner, and Shamar Stewart during the 2025 NFL draft. And even though people saw the lack of stats with some of those guys, especially Shamar Stewart, they drafted them high for a reason, because they had elite traits that were developed at Texas A&M despite not producing as much, because we see a lot of guys who from smaller schools who have big sack numbers and get drafted in like the 6th or 7th round. And there's a reason for that. So that's Elko's plan, is working to perfection right now. Obviously we need results in the field, but so far this class has been the best I've seen in a long time. And I started covering A&M professionally during the 2022 cycle. So I remember talking about it, and But when I look back at that, not a lot of those guys were NFL guys when I look at it. And, they may have had 5-star designations, but some of them had troubled backgrounds. Denver Harris is a name that always comes up, that even though he had these great physical traits and he could end up being a really, really good cornerback with an NFL future, couldn't keep his nose clean, as they say. And I don't even know where he is right now in football world. So, and that's no slight against him as a young man. That's just the football reality of it, right? So, but the guys we see, especially, again, I'm going to mention him again, Aaron Gregory, who is a great young man, somebody who we're going to try to have on the show sooner than later, who I'm guessing you guys know more personally than I do. This is somebody who is bought in and understand and is going to end up, in my opinion, be a 5-star player. I mean, Landon probably knows more about that by the end of his high school career, but he's going to end up being one of the best players A&M has landed in a long time. Just the way he, presents himself professionally and how he views his development track coming into this. Because I think he'll wait if he has to. He's not just going to come on there and go like, I'm going to be a star now, so you better give me the ball and you better start me immediately. He knows that this is going to take time potentially, or maybe not. Maybe he's an early riser like a Terry Bussey, but it just shows you that these type of guys who just are good young men who have NFL level talent, they're choosing A&M over a lot of big name schools. So something's brewing in College Station. It's going to continue.